Are wilted maple leaves toxic to horses? Yes, wilted maple leaves can be extremely toxic to horses, especially leaves from the red maple tree. Eating them can damage a horse's red blood cells, prevent the blood from carrying enough oxygen, injure the kidneys, and in severe cases cause death. The greatest danger often appears during autumn, when leaves naturally fall, but red maple poisoning can happen at other times too. A summer storm, strong wind, frost, pruning, or a fallen branch can suddenly place dangerous wilted leaves within a horse's reach. So why do wilted maple leaves make horses sick? How many leaves are dangerous? What symptoms should owners watch for? And what should you do if you believe your horse has eaten them? Let's examine one of the most serious and frequently overlooked seasonal dangers found in horse pastures. When people talk about maple leaf poisoning in horses, they are usually referring to red maple toxicosis. The red maple, scientifically known as Acer rubrum, is native to eastern North America. It is commonly found around farms, woodland edges, streams, fields, and horse pastures. It may be valued for its shade and brilliant autumn color, but its wilted and dried leaves can create a life-threatening emergency for horses. The leaves do not simply upset a horse's stomach. Instead, they trigger a destructive chemical process that attacks the horse's blood. But what actually happens inside the body? Red maple leaves contain plant chemicals known as galatonins and gallic acid. Research from Cornell University suggests that bacteria living in the horse's intestinal tract can transform these substances into a powerful oxidizing compound called pyrogalo. An oxidizing compound causes damaging chemical reactions within the body. In red maple poisoning, the red blood cells become the primary targets. Normally, red blood cells contain a protein called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin collects in the lungs and transports it to the brain, heart, muscles, kidneys, and other tissues. After a horse consumes toxic red maple leaves, oxidative damage begins altering that hemoglobin. Some of it is converted into methemoglobinemia, a damaged form of hemoglobin that cannot carry oxygen effectively. This means a poisoned horse may still be drawing air into its lungs, but its blood is becoming less capable of delivering that oxygen to the rest of the body. So horses may begin breathing faster, its heart rate may increase, it may appear exhausted, weak, or reluctant to move because its organs and muscles are being deprived of oxygen. At the same time, the oxidative damage can cause abnormal clumps known as Heinz bodies to form inside the red blood cells. These damaged cells become fragile. Some are removed from circulation while others rupture within the bloodstream. This destruction of red blood cells is called hemolysis. As more cells are destroyed, the horse develops hemolytic anemia. There are now fewer healthy red blood cells available to transport oxygen, making the oxygen shortage even more severe. When those cells rupture, they release hemoglobin into the bloodstream. The kidneys attempt to filter it out, which can turn the horse's urine dark, red, brown, or coffee-colored. The released hemoglobin can also injure the kidneys. This means a severely poisoned horse may be facing several connected emergencies at once. Destruction of red blood cells, severe anemia, inadequate oxygen delivery, strain on the heart and lungs, and possible kidney damage. This also explains why a horse may continue to deteriorate after it has stopped eating the leaves. Removing access prevents further exposure, but it cannot immediately reverse the damage already taking place inside the bloodstream. But are all maple trees equally dangerous? No. Red maple is the species most strongly associated with classic maple leaf toxicosis and oxidative destruction of red blood cells. Other members of the maple genus can present different risks. For example, box elder in North America and European sycamore maple are associated with hypoglycemia A poisoning, which can cause atypical myopathy, a separate and often fatal disease involving severe muscle damage. These conditions should not be confused with one another. A red maple, sugar maple, silver maple, box elder, and European sycamore maple may all belong to the broader Acer genus, but they do not necessarily contain the same toxins or cause illness in the same way. Accurate tree identification is therefore essential. If you are uncertain which trees grow beside your horse's pasture, ask an arborist, veterinarian, or agricultural extension specialist for help. A plant identification app may provide a starting point, but it should not be your only source when a horse's safety is at risk. So why are wilted leaves more dangerous than leaves growing on a healthy tree? Fresh red maple leaves still attached to the tree are not generally considered to present the same level of danger as wilted or dried leaves. The greatest concern begins after leaves fall, branches are cut, or foliage is damaged and starts to wilt. This makes storm damage particularly dangerous. A branch may break during the night and fall into a paddock. By morning, the horses have access to a large pile of leaves that will become increasingly wilted. The same risks arise when someone trims a maple tree and throws the branches into a horse pasture, believing the horses will enjoy them. Maple branches and garden waste should never be given to horses. Even horses that normally ignore trees may investigate fallen leaves because of curiosity, boredom, sparse grazing, or limited access to suitable forage. Leaves can also become mixed with grass or hay, increasing the chance of accidental consumption. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, illness may occur after a horse consumes approximately 1.5 to 3 pounds of dried or wilted maple leaves for every 1,000 pounds of body weight. For an average-sized horse, that may not be as much material as it sounds. A large leafy branch can carry a considerable amount of foliage. Owners should never try to calculate whether a horse has consumed enough to become poisoned before contacting a veterinarian. The risk can be influenced by the amount eaten, the condition of the leaves, the season, the individual horse, and the particular tree. Dried maple leaves may also remain toxic for several weeks. Leaves collected later in autumn may be especially dangerous. If you discover that your horse may have eaten wilted red maple leaves, treat the situation as a veterinary emergency, even if the horse appears normal. Clinical signs may not appear immediately. A horse can look relatively healthy while red blood cells damage is already developing. Early symptoms may also be frustratingly vague. The horses may seem depressed, unusually quiet, weak, tired, or uninterested in food. An owner might initially assume the horse is simply having an off day or experiencing mild colic. As the poisoning progresses, the horse's heart rate and breathing rate may increase as its body attempts to compensate for inadequate oxygen delivery. The gums may look pale because of anemia. They may appear muddy, brown, or bluish because of abnormal hemoglobin and poor oxygenation. Yellow discoloration around the gums or whites of the eyes may develop as damaged red blood cells are broken down. The urine may become dark red, reddish brown, or coffee colored. This is one of the most recognizable warning signs of red maple poisoning and requires immediate veterinary attention. Other symptoms can include weakness, reluctance to move, stumbling, abdominal discomfort, respiratory distress, collapse, or an inability to rise. However, you should never wait for dark urine, breathing difficulty, or collapse before calling your veterinarian. If you find a fallen maple branch in the field and believe leaves have been eaten, immediately move every horse away from the affected area. Do not remove only the main branch while leaving scattered leaves behind. Prevent access until the paddock has been thoroughly inspected and cleaned. Call your veterinarian or the nearest emergency equine hospital. Explain what the horses may have eaten, when the exposure could have occurred, how much foliage appears to be missing, and whether you have observed any unusual behavior. If several horses had access, tell the veterinarian about every potentially exposed animal. One horse may show symptoms before the others, but that does not mean the remaining horses are safe. If possible, photograph the tree, leaves, bark, branches, and location. Keep a sample of the plant secured away from the horses so it can be identified by a qualified veterinarian. Do not give medications, activated charcoal, mineral oil, or home remedies unless your veterinarian specifically directs you to do so. The appropriate response depends on when the exposure occurred and the horse's clinical condition. Veterinary diagnosis may include a physical examination, blood work, and urine testing. Blood tests can help reveal anemia, abnormal hemoglobin, red blood cell damage, and changes in kidney function. There is no simple home antidote for red maple poisoning. If the exposure was recent, a veterinarian may use gastrointestinal decontamination to reduce further absorption. Treatment may also include intravenous fluids, oxygen support, antioxidants, and other supportive medications. A horse with severe anemia may require a whole blood transfusion. The transfusion provides healthy red blood cells capable of transporting oxygen while the veterinary team supports the horse through the crisis. The prognosis varies. A horse treated before severe anemia and organ injury develop may have a better chance than one already struggling to breathe or unable to stand. That is why rapid action matters. Fortunately, prevention does not necessarily require removing every maple tree from the property. Begin by identifying trees growing inside paddocks and along fence lines. Pay close attention to branches extending over turnout areas, water troughs, feeding locations, gateways, and sacrifice lots. Inspect pastures after storms, high winds, frost, heavy rain, or tree work. A paddock that was safe yesterday may contain a broken branch today. Keep potentially dangerous branches beyond the horse's reach and fence horses away from young or low-growing trees. Never dump garden waste, pruned branches, hedge clippings, or bags of leaves into a pasture. Make sure neighbors, landscapers, barn workers, and tree contractors understand this rule as well. Provide adequate, appropriate forage, especially when pasture grounds become sparse. Good quality hay cannot make a toxic tree safe, but hungry or bored horses may be more likely to investigate unfamiliar vegetation. Autumn deserves particular attention, but it is not the only dangerous season. Wilted leaves created by summer storms, pruning, or wind damage can also poison horses. So, are wilted maple leaves toxic to horses? Yes. Wilted and dried maple leaves can cause potentially fatal poisoning by damaging red blood cells and preventing the blood from transporting enough oxygen. Watch for depression, weakness, loss of appetite, rapid breathing, and elevated heart rate, discolored gums, jaundice, and red or dark brown urine. But do not wait for symptoms if you know or strongly suspect that your horse has eaten wilted red maple leaves. Remove every horse from the area and call a veterinarian immediately. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, I am not AI. If you listen closely, you can hear me breathing. And we would love your video ideas.